Hello, and welcome to the Daily View. And today we close our look at geometry with the North Node Way. When we get to our midlife point, that's when this street that we live our lives on, that's when it really changes and the environment changes and we enter into a new phase. If we're looking at the nodes as they are today, again, we looked at the south node phase with the 50th gate, and we saw very clearly with the 50th gate the challenge on that geometry on that street, the challenge of taking responsibility, of laws, of values, of developing intelligence. All of that was part of the south node environment. But the moment that we get to the north end of the street, we enter into the third gate, difficulty at the beginning, an individual gate, a gate, in fact, of disorder, a gate in which order can be discovered or found or grow through the confusion and ultimately emerge. In other words, there's going to be a real shift in this being's life when they move from that South Street with its laws and values and responsibilities to that North Node Street. And that North Node Street of mutation and confusion and disorder is going to be a very different environment. In other words, that, the structures that seem so supportive and so demanding in the first half of the life are going to be very, very different in the second half of the life. It's also a movement from what is essentially a tribal theme of support and to be supported, so that in the first half of the life, through that process of finding values and responsibilities, all of that is taking place within the context of tribal support, being supported by others, supporting others, being caught in that environment, that neighborhood. It's full of that kind of support interaction. But the moment that you move into the north end of the street, it becomes very individual. It becomes much more self-absorbed. It becomes much more melancholic. It's a sadder part of the road. It can be more creative in that sense, but it also can carry a patina of melancholy with it. It's mutative, it's creative, it's individual. Whereas the 50th gate was very connected to the basic senses. The third gate is all about and only about acoustics. The things you hear in the second half of your life going to be very different than the things that you heard in the first half of your life. It's our process. We all have a geometry. We all have a nodal trajectory. And remember, in this very cursory overview, that I've only been looking at the personality in that sense, what you have conscious access to. How important it is to see that there is also an unconscious process that you move through, an unconscious environment that you live your life through. And because we cannot in any way have direct access to that unconscious environment or the way in which we interact with that unconscious environment, that we're left with only one thing to rely on: our ability to operate correctly through the mechanics. Our ability to operate correctly because we have a type, and a type gives us a strategy. And that through our design, we have an authority. And that we can make decisions correctly as ourselves, correctly in terms of what is correct for the mechanics of our vehicle. These are vehicles moving in space. These are vehicles moving along this geometry provided to us by the nodes of the moon and guided by the unique trajectory of each and every one of our magnetic monopoles. When you're looking at your chart, pay attention to the nodes and pay attention to the way in which they operate within your chart itself, whether they're part of definition, whether they are connected to either the sacral or to a motor or to the throat. How do they work? Are they emotional? Are they splenic? What is the quality of your street? And then look around.